Welcome, everybody, to the Mom and Tom podcast. Welcome to episode 13.
That's right.
I'm Mom.
And I'm Tom. And today's episode is none other than Avengers Endgame. Yes, we've been waiting for many years to finally get this movie, and it is also been many weeks since it came out, but we just wanted to make sure that everyone who wanted to see it went and saw it, and I think it's safe now to start discussing this movie. Before we get into it, I just want to mention quickly that we have an email that you can send us suggestions and feedback to. Our email is momandtompodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word, all lowercase, just momandtompodcast@gmail.com. And then we also have an Instagram where you can follow us to see every time we upload an episode and some other fun pictures that my sister puts on there. Our Instagram URL is just instagram.com/momandtompodcast.
Yes, our one-woman marketing team.
Yep, that's what we've got. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and jump straight into it. First of all, we wanted to talk a little numbers. This movie, as of recording this, it is now hitting, what was it, about
780 million domestic and 2.63 billion worldwide.
Yeah,
so
which means
passed Avatar domestically.
Correct.
But still has a ways to go worldwide.
And
Will it do it?
If you don't know, Avatar is kind of the big record holder for both domestic and worldwide. I think previously, how much did it have domestic? Do we know? It was 700 something for sure.
Yeah, it was not that far below it. Let me see if I can quickly.
Okay. Well, while she's looking for that, yeah. So it was 700, and I want to say probably around 760 or something like that domestic.
Yeah,
and
I believe that's pretty close. Yeah.
Yep. And worldwide, it's about 2.7 billion. So Avengers, it's getting there.
I thought it was closer to 2.8 billion. But...
Oh, you're right. It's 2.77. Yeah. That's what it is.
Okay.
And since Avengers is at 2.63.
Yeah,
it's getting there.
I mean, could make it. We'll see.
It's possible. We still have Memorial Day weekend coming up, so it could possibly get a holiday spike. Maybe we'll see.
Could be.
It would be really cool to see it get that hit high. The other thing I wanted to mention is this was a 3-hour movie.
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I didn't really. It didn't feel like a 3-hour movie, except my bladder.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, it was one of those things where when I heard it was 3 hours, I was like, "That's amazing!" Like, I definitely wanted it to be that long since it's the big finale.
I think they needed the time,
right? And but yeah, having to hold it in the whole movie is a little difficult at times. But okay, now I think we can get into the thick of things here. I wanted to start off by talking about our first impressions, and what I mean by that is sort of the very beginning of the movie, how it made you feel, and what I especially wanted to mention about this is the opening scene of the movie is
really powerful.
It's very powerful. It's kind of dark, but it's sort of since it's been a year since we've seen Infinity War at this point, it sort of reminds you of like how you felt at the end of Infinity War. It kind of because basically the opening scene is Hawkeye having sort of a picnic with his family, and then slowly but surely his whole family fades away. Yeah, and you get that reminded of that sense from Infinity War of like, wow, this is really bad. Like it's
because in Infinity War you saw the other Avengers that disappeared, but you really didn't see the full impact on the population.
Right.
And the opening scene with Hawkeye and his family really just brought it home, I think, for like what would that be like, if you were just out in some ordinary, or not even ordinary, but really nice day, nice time with your family, and all of a sudden you look around and they're gone, and he freaks out, and and
I mean, somebody who wasn't right there to see Thanos do it, you would have no idea what just happened.
Right.
Like, because we all saw the little dust flakes or whatever, and we knew what happened, but for him it's like, he would have no idea. Yeah. Like, it's just what just happened. They're just all gone.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty intense. And then once everybody kind of gets reunited at the beginning, they go off to find Thanos.
Yeah.
And they kill him.
Yeah.
And it's like 15 minutes into the movie, and they kill Thanos.
And you're like, all right.
Yeah, it's so...
So what's the rest of the movie going to be about? Yeah.
It's so interesting how they are able to... You have this expectation of, like, the next meeting with Thanos is going to be epic. Like, there's going to be this big battle.
Yeah.
And really, it's just him sitting there cooking up some soup or something. And then they fly in and
he's all fried out because he
destroyed all the
stones.
Yep. He uses the stones to destroy the stones. So
yeah.
But what I was gonna say is, going into this movie and having read a bunch of like theories and stuff that have to do with the movie, or like what fans thought might happen, is I kind of boiled it down to two different possibilities, and that is that one, they're going to have to fight Thanos again in this epic thing to try to get the stones back and use it to bring people back. Or there's going to have to be time travel, because there's like, that's what
and they kind of did both.
sort of, yeah.
Because they still had to fight Thanos
as soon as that part when they kill Thanos is like, okay, well, I think there has to be time travel now, but you're still taken aback at first. Yeah. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're just,
happened.
Not quite how quickly I think you thought something like that would happen. And then, of course, there's part of me that's like, dang, why didn't you go for the head in Infinity Wars in the first place?
Yep.
But then it wouldn't have been,
Right.
I think that too was a part of the story, though, was the Avengers having a human side and still not being perfect and making mistakes.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what our dad was talking about earlier, is that it's sort of one of the big themes in this movie was the Avengers realizing their mistakes and having to fix them and make things better. Right. So, and then immediately after they kill Thanos, the screen goes black. And you're kind of, and you're still like, okay, what's going on here? And then slowly the words come up, 5 years later.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was kind of like, okay, that part I did not expect to come at all. And then you get sort of a glimpse of what life is like for these people who are left.
Yeah, the people that are left behind.
Yeah, man, it was a very interesting look to see. Like, it basically shows this sort of, it's sort of like a AA meeting, but like a meeting for survivors, I guess. Yeah, that Captain America is with like all these random people. And you kind of get this sense of like how he's trying to encourage people to like move on and still live your life, but it's really hard. After like everything that you
trauma.
knew is just...
it's huge trauma. It can be somewhat like post-war, I would imagine, but worse, because it's just half the population just literally disappeared and they don't know what happened, and to try to can't make any sense out of that.
Right.
And to try to rebuild, they're probably almost afraid to rebuild, what will happen now, waiting for the next shoe to fall.
Yeah, basically.
And, pretty tough stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like we could try to rebuild, but when's the next Thanos,
Right.
It's like, I don't know.
Right.
So, yeah, that's a really good point. So that was basically like the first impressions of the beginning of the movie. And then I wanted to move into discussing the roles of the original 6 Avengers, because I know this is a little bit of a jump, but at the very end of the movie, in the credits, they do this amazing tribute,
almost a tribute,
to the original 6 Avengers, because they have been around since the beginning of all this. And for those of you who don't know, it's Hawkeye, Black Widow, Hulk, Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man. And they do this thing where they kind of show the silhouette of the character, and then it shows the actor or actress signing their name across the screen.
That is really a cool idea.
And man, it gave me chills. Honestly, when I saw it, I was like, wow, it's a really cool sign off.
That is a really neat idea.
Sign off for him. So first off, Hawkeye. Mm-hmm. We just talked about how he had the very powerful scene at the beginning, and that kind of became the catalyst of what he was at the beginning of the movie, which was he kind of became this sort of ruthless assassin.
Yeah.
Because he just
lost it.
He just lost it. Yeah. And he basically just started hunting down like gangs and stuff, and just like
it's like he just wanted to try to rid the world of evil, but he was just so full of rage and bitterness and
and he ends up Black Widow does end up finding him, and I guess we can kind of talk about these both at the same time. Black Widow on the other hand,
they have a history,
right? Black Widow on the other hand, she's also sort of similar, not like with the rage, but the fact that she can't really move on. Like she just feels like she stays in the Avengers like tower and sort of keeps tries to keep tabs on everybody and any other threats that might be possibly
trying to find purpose again.
Right. And so she kind of just tries to keep doing what her job was before, or sort of
in whatever capacity.
Capacity she can.
Well, and they have a history, and then I think about Hawkeye. At the beginning, the first movie where he falls under the power of the
Scarlet Witch.
Loki puts him.
Loki. Right.
Yeah, and so he gets used against the Avengers,
right?
And then Black Widow snaps him out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And but then he's the only one that has this aside normal, quote unquote normal life with a wife and children, and he's the only one who has that. And
isn't she like Auntie what's her name? Black Widow's actual name? What's her?
What do you mean? Oh, Nat.
Auntie Nat. Isn't
Natasha,
that what the
Natasha Roman? Yeah.
Isn't that what they call the kids call her?
Yeah, the kids know her, and So they really have such a bond. That there's probably even more to that, I'm sure, in the comics and things like that, which I personally have not read. But it's kind of a sweet, story of a very deep friendship.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah. And so she's actually the one that ends up finding him to kind of bring him back when they figure out how to do the time travel and all that.
Yeah.
And then they're the ones that end up going to get the Soul Stone, obviously, and that's what kind of it is a very powerful ending to this whole story of friendship and all that, and how they both have one of them has to sacrifice themselves to basically save the world, essentially.
Yeah.
And she is like,
she outsmarts him.
Yeah, she's like, well, you have a family. And I don't really, you guys are my family. Yeah. And so if this is the only way to bring you back, I feel like it has to be me. And so she outsmarts him and she takes the jump.
Yeah. Which I really believed that's the way it was going to go, because I thought there's no way she is going to let that happen.
Right. I agree.
She just has such, she doesn't have a superpower, but she's just as being a trained assassin, basically, but you see that she has this very soft side, but also also very passionate, and she just is very, I don't know how else to say that.
No, I know what you mean.
It's a very deep and powerful thing.
Yeah, it has been really cool to see her character evolve over the years, of how at the beginning she was kind of this unknown, just like cold assassin character, and how she's grown to be like part of the family, essentially.
Yeah.
And so that like you're saying, she has a soft side to her, and
you get to see the depth of her through the movies.
Absolutely. And there are rumors, by the way, that there is going to be a Black Widow movie.
Yeah, I had heard that.
Which I think would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, even though she did die, I'm assuming that it's supposed to be like a origin story type thing.
Yeah, I would assume so.
And I would still like to see her again.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it'd be cool
if Scarlett Johansson does it. Yeah.
That's true. If Scarlett didn't do it, that'd be a little weird.
Yeah, we'll have to see because if they're going to show her young, I don't know.
I suppose. We'll see.
Not that she's old, but...
Right. I think she still looks pretty young.
Yes, so. She does. She does.
Yeah. So that sort of covers those two. Hawkeye does get the happy ending at the end that he gets to reunite with his family, and it's very sweet. And so now I want to talk a little bit about Hulk. Hulk was interesting in this movie because he found a way, Bruce Banner, he found a way to be in Hulk mode but still have like Banner's brain in Hulk mode, so that he
Banner
said,
brain
he calls it like the best of both worlds, how he basically has the strength
and then he becomes like a celebrity.
Kind of. It's kind of funny. So he's really cool. He helps a lot. I mean, he's not as crazy smart as Iron Man is, but he's still pretty dang smart. So he's able to, like, once they finally get Iron Man to join them, those two together are basically able to figure everything out with the whole time travel and all the suits and all that stuff. So,
well, and he just definitely, all of a sudden, he's like at peace because, he is at peace with both parts of himself because he's been able to find that way because, Hulk was always just so filled with rage. And then when he was Banner, it's almost like he was just trying so hard to stay calm, you know?
Yep.
So there was just always
a struggle.
Tension, always a struggle, and so it's like making peace and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be big and green and strong and not smash everything.
Exactly. He's actually the one that snaps his fingers to bring everyone back.
Yeah.
Because he's so, his body's so strong.
He knows he can take the gamma.
Yeah, he can take the radiation from it. And I mean, it still does kind of mess up his arm pretty bad, but that's supposed to kill most people. So the fact that he's able to, it only hurts his arm is pretty good.
Pretty minor in the scheme of things.
Right. I don't have a whole lot more to say about Hulk. He, for the most part, has a normal ending too. That's pretty much all to say about Hulk.
Okay.
I liked him. I thought he was cool.
At first I thought Mark Ruffalo the Hulk, but you know what? I think he did a good job.
Yeah, I agree. Thor is on my list next. Thor in this movie was very interesting. He basically, after he kills Thanos and we do the time skip and all that, he kind of just went off to this remote town and just started drinking.
New Asgard.
Yeah.
New Asgard.
Yeah. So him and Valkyrie and all the other like the rest of the living Asgardians are basically in this like new town that they formed. And Thor kind of just doesn't care anymore. He kind of just wants to drink and just
play video games.
Basically. They're able to convince him to come back. And he does kind of provide comic relief for a lot of the movie, which I can understand how somebody who is a big fan of Thor in the comics might not like Thor as much in this movie, just because in the comics he's always been the serious, like very strong character,
and he steps away from all that.
And so he does. He takes a big step away from that in this movie, of how he's still strong, but he is sort of silly for most of the movie too. So
and he like cries and he gets really emotional, which is not
Thor.
Yeah.
So I can understand that, but the big thing is when he does go back in time and gets to speak with his mom right before she dies. I think that scene helped me understand why they did this to his character a lot more, because they have this conversation about how he's spent his whole life trying to be a king and
what his dad expected of
him.
And
what he was like supposed to be, whereas maybe he's just not meant to be that. Maybe like the true Thor is this kind of silly, goofy guy. And
he always had Loki to be sort of fighting against, and now Loki's gone.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like there's what's there to fight now?
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, he doesn't have to keep Loki in check all the time.
Yeah. So it's kind of, his dad's gone, his mom's gone, his sister's even gone, and his brother's gone. So he doesn't have any family left, and he kind of decides that he wants a different life.
Yeah. And from my point of view, as someone who isn't a huge comic book fan, I kind of liked it. It grew on me.
Yeah.
I liked that he sort of got to choose his own path and become what he wants to be instead of what everybody wants him to be.
What everybody expected. Yeah.
Yeah. So it grew on me, is what I'll say.
Yeah.
I think the first time I saw it, I was like, I don't know.
I know. And of course, as a woman, he's
supposed to be the super
and drinking beer, and he's a slob, and you're like, oh dang.
Yeah, I went from this like super muscular guy to like this fat slob. And I've read in some articles too that it's Chris Hemsworth, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was actually really excited when he read this in the script. Did you know that?
Oh, really?
Yeah, when apparently he sat down with the Russo brothers to talk about what his character would be, because they knew this was a big change, and apparently he thought it was awesome. He was like, I'm totally down for this change.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that was cool to read, and I think that definitely helped. That like, I mean, obviously when the actor is not in agreement, sometimes you can tell, and so I think you could definitely tell that this is like what he wanted to do, and it was cool.
There you go.
But I mean, again, even in the end battle with Thanos, he was still like as cool as he usually is, I think, because he had his he had Mjolnir, his hammer, and he had Stormbreaker, the big axe, and he's able to channel the lightning through him still, and do he's still able to fight well. And
of
so
course, you gotta love when Captain
We're
America.
getting to that.
Sorry.
Next up, no, just to finish Thor though, his ending also is nice. He kind of leaves Valkyrie to tend over the remaining Asgardians, and he. What's funny though is that he goes and joins the Guardians of the Galaxy on their ship, and so I'm wondering if we get another Guardians movie, is he going to be like part of the Guardians? Maybe he might.
I didn't even think of that, but that would make sense.
It's possible. Yeah. So yeah, next up. I'm kind of spoiled a little bit, but we've got Captain America next. Captain America, right off the bat, I mean, like we were talking about earlier, he's trying to help people through, try to...
He's being Captain America.
He's true to his character. He's always the optimist. What does Iron Man say in that one line? I missed that giddy optimism.
Yeah.
So he's ever the optimist. And
doesn't really think a whole lot about himself.
Right. Yes, he is very selfless. And seeing his and we can kind of talk about Iron Man 2 at this part.
Oh, sure.
Iron Man, when he comes back to Earth, when Captain Marvel brings him back to Earth, they have this conversation initially where, because it's almost from Civil War, where this conversation has been going on for a while, how Iron Man wants to basically have like suits everywhere, and to be this sort of guardian of Earth, like with all his machines, and Captain America was always
he wants to put like a shield,
like a suit around the world is what he called it. So, and Captain America was never really down for that because he felt like it was a big intrusion on people's like, privacy and their own choices and stuff. In which he's not wrong. But in this case, Iron Man kind of gets the upper hand because he's like, well, you see what happened when we didn't have this protection.
Yeah, which is easy to do for anybody,
obviously that's easy for him to say afterwards.
Because it's not, even if they had the protection, it's not for absolute certain that it would have worked.
Exactly. I do agree with that part. But the way...
you see it,
Yeah, the way he's able to say like, all us old guys, it's worthless now. That part where he's like, we need Captain Marvel to do stuff, like she's the new one, and saying we all failed, so we need the new people to step up and fix it for us. So it's kind of an emotional scene in that conversation. And then obviously later on, when they're trying to convince Tony to come help them figure out time travel. Yeah. He has a daughter now. Yeah. And he's kind of like, how can I give up this to suddenly now go back in time to try to, you know what I mean? Like, it's
it's understandable.
Yeah. It's like, I have, I think he says this is my second chance. Yeah. Like his daughter, he sees that's his second chance. Like, I'm not going to, throw this away to try to go back in time and do all this dangerous stuff that probably won't even work. Yeah. So in his mind,
he doesn't want to risk it. Yeah.
Right. But when they travel back to the old SHIELD base, I love the all the interactions in that scene, like how Iron Man gets to see his dad. Yeah. And Captain America got to see what's her name? Margaret?
Shoot! I'm forgetting her name, but
you guys know who I'm talking about.
He gets a life. He gets a life with her. Yeah.
Yeah. That part is cool, and like, so I guess we kind of skipped ahead a little bit, but in the fight against Thanos at the end, Captain America picks up Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, because he truly is worthy. Yeah. And he fights with it, and he pops off with it. He was like doing all this crazy stuff where he's swinging it. And then he like claps it against his shield, and it makes a shockwave. Yeah, he even channels really cool. like thunder to bring it down on Thanos. I was like, oh my goodness.
Thor's over there going, I knew it. Because in the one movie when he moves it a little bit.
Right. That was an Ultron.
Thor kind of goes like, like what? And you kind of get that. Yeah, you think, okay, he probably could do more than that. He just didn't want to let everybody know that. Yeah, or maybe didn't want to make Thor feel less than or anything. I don't know.
And after that movie, all the comic book fans were like, well, in the comics, Captain America can use the hammer, so maybe that's where they're going. And they did finally give it to us. And I remember the first night I saw it on Thursday night, opening night, and that was the one scene that everyone clapped for. that part was awesome.
Oh, that's funny. That's awesome.
Everyone cheered when he picked up the hammers.
Oh, that is so funny.
Cool. But like my mom was saying just a second ago, Captain America's ending is very nice. He gets to go back in time and be with
the love of his
life, and he gets to grow old with her and have a regular life. So that was very sweet, and it was one of those things where you knew that not all the original Avengers were gonna like continue. I mean, and we kind of knew this because of like contracts and stuff, but also because it's like it's just been so long that you're like,
there were actors that wanted to be done.
And it's understandable. I mean, it's been all these years that they've been doing this one character for, and so Captain America, he's like old at the end, and he passes on his shield to Falcon, which admittedly I do not understand fully how that works, because I mean, not that Captain America can't be a regular guy, but like one of the whole points of him is that he was like a super soldier, and so he was super strong.
Well, that part would not go away. You know, he can't pass that on because
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So like if Falcon's the new Captain America, well, he's just like a regular dude.
Yeah, I wonder how that's gonna. Yeah,
I feel like it'd make way more sense if Bucky was the next Captain America, because he was also a modified soldier guy. So
and I just like that Captain America finally got something that was for him.
Right.
You know. Like the one time he
doesn't
think of
everyone else before himself.
He just decides he's gonna, because I can't remember which person that he talks to that encourages him to, Is it Tony?
It is Tony.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, because he's at the very end. I think he says, "I got some of that life that Tony was telling me to get," or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
And then Falcon goes, "You want to tell me about her?" And he goes, I don't think I will.
don't think I do.
I love that little line.
Because it's all his. His. I love it.
So yes, that was a very sweet ending, and kind of a nice send off for Captain America.
Yeah, definitely.
And lastly, I want to talk about Iron Man.
Yeah.
And obviously, everyone who's seen it knows why we saved Iron Man for the end. We kind of talked about him throughout the movie a bit. I know you had a few parts that you wanted to talk about with like his interactions with his daughter.
Oh, it's just so sweet. I mean, just the transition of Tony Stark from the first Iron Man movie to, through the Avengers
is incredible.
Yeah. He becomes part of a team and part of something he obviously really believes in, and moves away from the selfish, rich, playboy to a very committed and devoted member of a team.
Yep.
And, at the beginning, the first Avengers movie where he and Captain America kind of, there's always a little bit of tension there because they're both so strong, I guess, such strong characters. And Captain America's, accusing him still of being playboy, selfish, never the guy to make the sacrifice play. And then Iron Man makes the ultimate sacrifice play
at the end. Yep, it comes full circle.
Yeah, and it really does come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in all the little dialogue that he had with his daughter and even with Pepper, too, in those scenes, it was so well done.
Yeah.
And just, it really made you feel for him.
Well, they found like an absolutely adorable little girl that really played off of Robert Downey Jr. so well.
Yeah.
And, she just her little smiles and just the interaction. I wonder how they developed that as they were making the movie.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Kind of
question.
Sweet. Because I like when he, just like the little things when he's putting her to bed and he says, "Now go to sleep or I'm going to sell all your toys." And she just laughs.
She smiles, yeah.
And who wouldn't want a relationship like that with their child? That's, and then when she comes down and catches him when he's working on the time travel thing. And she catches him and she hears him swearing. And
then he goes, and then she says it and he goes, "That's mommy's word." You can't say that. He said something like, "She coined that," or something. Like, you can't use that word.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That
and then, of course,
funny.
Now the infamous line of "I love you 3000."
Love you 3000.
Which now everyone has stolen and made their own.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was such
cute.
A sweet part. And then I was gonna mention that one line when the daughter is wearing Pepper's helmet.
Yeah.
Or you don't really know that yet, but it's Pepper's helmet, and then he goes something about like, "Oh, it's okay. Mommy never wears anything I buy her." I love that line. So good.
Yes, that is cute.
And then at the end when they're doing the whole fight with Thanos, it's so cool to see Pepper fight.
Yeah.
I had never even thought of that happening.
In Iron Man 3, remember, he made her a suit.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, and he did.
I don't know why I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, he used it to save her, and then at the end, she used it to save him.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's funny. I actually totally forgot about that part.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's still so cool
was.
to see them fight side by side, and they're doing all their lasers and it's like, oh, this is so cool.
It was very cool. It was very cool.
And basically the ending for Iron Man, as everyone knows, he takes the stones from Thanos. Because right before that scene, he looks over at Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange holds up the one. Holds up the one.
So he knows.
Yeah, so he knows.
This is it.
Because earlier in the battle, Iron Man had said, "Oh, you saw one possibility. Is this it?" And Doctor Strange said to him, "If I tell you what it is, it won't happen." So, and then as soon as Iron Man saw that, he's like, "I know. Yeah, I know what it is."
Yeah.
And so he goes up there. acts like he's trying to take the gauntlet off, but actually he takes all the stones out.
The nanotechnology.
Yep.
Yeah.
To suck all the stones out. And then he snaps his own fingers and all the army and Thanos die. But as we talked about before, it like there's so much power in it that like using them kills you essentially. And so that is what happens to Iron Man.
Yeah.
And
and honestly, I had a feeling going into this movie that Iron Man was going to die. I figured that was
right. I mean, I can understand
and not like
that.
That's like, ooh, I'm sure most people
right
saw that.
Well, because to me, I think a lot of people expected some even more than one death, or I guess there was two.
Yeah,
but I think a lot of people were. Me too. I was thinking that maybe all the original would die. Like I thought that might happen.
Yeah.
But I thought how they did it was good. Black Widow was a powerful death. Iron Man was obviously powerful too, and and then the scene at the end with the funeral is so good.
Yeah.
It's quiet with this very
well done.
Very slow music in the background, and it slowly pans through, and you get to see all the people that like Iron Man has affected essentially in his life. Because it's like it's not only all the Avengers, but it's like their families too, and then
and then there's that kid.
There's that kid,
and you're like, who's that
guy? You're like,
who's that guy?
That?
And the kid.
He's the kid from Iron Man 2, right? I believe it's 2.
Yeah, when he's the mechanic. Yeah,
and
the kid that helps him.
The kid that helps him.
Yeah.
Yep, that's that kid.
And
then
funny.
Getting to see Nick Fury walk in was cool. I thought that was cool to see him at the end. And
very much.
Yeah, so it's just a very powerful ending.
Yeah. And going back to one note I had here of right before he snaps his fingers when Thanos says, "I am inevitable," and Tony gets to say, "I'm Iron Man."
That part is
snap.
So cool.
Oh, snap.
Harking back to the first Iron Man, which was like what started this all.
They really, I think fans expected a lot, and I think that it really delivered.
Yeah.
It was almost like just an homage to the characters, to the fans, to the,
Yep.
And
that's what was so cool to me and to everyone, obviously, about both Infinity War and this movie is how bringing all of these beloved characters together creates so many expectations.
Right.
And they did such a good job of meeting those expectations.
Yeah.
Like it's like there's so many characters that it's almost impossible to be like, how do you make everybody like this?
Yeah, right.
And
the Russo brothers.
And they somehow did it. And I thought that was so amazing. Like I have heard some people say that they liked Infinity War better, and I can understand that but to me, and I think I partially agree. However, I think the reason that Infinity War was so good is because of its ending, though, because how it's so unexpected, so dramatic, and and in my opinion, I feel
you keep thinking they're going to stop this somehow.
Yeah, right. Though, because the whole movie they keep losing, but then you're like, okay, well they're going to win in the end, right?
Yeah.
Like, right?
Yeah, right.
And they keep losing, and you're like, okay, well they're still going to win, though, right? And and then they just lose, and it's like, wow. But what I will say is, I think we wouldn't have got that good of an ending without having Endgame to follow it up. So what I will say is, I think without Endgame, Infinity War wouldn't have been as good as it was. Yeah. If that makes sense.
I think I can see what you're saying.
And so that's why it's hard for me to say, even though I kind of agree, it's hard for me to straight out say I liked Infinity War, because I feel like we would not have gotten that crazy of an ending without also having Endgame.
Endgame was used to, wrap everything up, wrap it all up. So, I mean, that typically isn't going to be as much of a shocker, because it's not intended to be
Yeah, because it has to wrap things up.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be a shocking ending.
Yeah.
It's like...
not like a cliffhanger.
Right.
Because it's Endgame.
Yeah.
Hence the name.
Yep. So, yeah, I think you totally understand what I'm saying. That.
Yeah.
But at the very end here, we just wanted to talk about a few of, like, our... favorite moments through the movie.
Yeah, there's a couple.
After going through each of these characters. So I did already mention that seeing Pepper fight was cool.
Yeah.
The scene when all the people come back and Spider-Man is talking to Iron Man. He goes, "Oh, like, so I went away because I wasn't feeling good, and I went away, and then I came back, and then Doctor Strange was like, it's been 5 years, they need us," and then he started doing the portal thing, and I love that scene. And then Iron Man just hugs him, and it was like,
because he just loves that kid.
Yeah, that was so sweet.
Yeah, I was gonna say real quick too. Kind of before that, I was thinking, when you know that the time travel was successful, and they're fighting this battle and they're on that field. And I remember at the point, I remember even leaning over to Dad and saying, okay, if they brought everybody back, where are they?
Yeah, that's true, because it does take a while.
Yeah, it takes a while.
Battling for a while.
Which it should, right?
Yes,
I mean, rightfully it should take a while. And then all of a sudden they start to show up, and it's
all
like,
the portals start showing up everywhere, and then you're like, oh my gosh, there it is.
Yes.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say that one of my favorite scenes for both of us actually was the conversation between Bruce Banner and the Sorceress Supreme.
Yeah.
First of all, I really like what's her Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
As an actress.
Yeah.
I think that she's very unique.
Evil queen and the White Witch in Narnia. Yeah.
And I just think that she's really good at playing these sort of strange roles that...
Yeah. She has almost kind of a unique look to her, and I think it really lends that. Yeah.
And it's like, not only does she have a unique look, but she's a great actress too. Yeah. So I think that she's I love seeing her in movies, and so the whole conversation though that she has with Banner about how the stones work and how they're doing this whole time travel thing is so interesting.
Yeah, time and space and
and how she's telling him like, oh, if I give you this time stone right now, my timeline is essentially screwed because we're not going to have the stone to defend ourselves.
Right.
And then he's saying, oh, if we just like take it now and then bring it back to this exact instance. Same point, then you'll have it, and you won't even notice we were gone. Essentially,
well, and he gains her trust by saying that Doctor Strange gave it to them. So
that part was
to
really
Thanos,
cool.
He gave it to Thanos,
right.
And so she knows that he would only do that if he knew that this was going to happen.
Right, exactly.
So she trusted that.
I was going to mention one of the funniest lines to me in that whole conversation is the initial line when he first gets there. He's trying to open the door, and she's like, I don't think you want to go in there. And then he's like, oh, I'm looking for Doctor Strange. And she goes, you're about 5 years too early.
Yeah.
I love that part. And she's like, he's actually down,
performing
surgery down how many blocks or whatever. And I love that line is so cool that she just like knows that.
Well, and then when she zaps him.
Puts him into the spirit or whatever thing.
It was just a really, like you said, it was a really neat, thoughtful conversation. Kind of satisfies your, I don't know, it's like, let's not just assume that all this is going to work out.
Right. They really explain it.
Yeah, showing that, there really was some thought. I mean, I know it's still Marvel Universe, and it's
right.
Still
obviously,
it's not its reality. But...
Obviously, it's still fictional story, but it is
story.
Cool that they like kind of reason it out somewhat and explain how it would work, and how that when as soon as he tells her, "Oh, Doctor Strange gave it up," and she's like, "What?"
Yeah,
she's just he's supposed to be the best of us, so. He obviously did that for a reason.
That's faith. That's faith.
She gives it to him. Yeah. So essentially what we're supposed to think is what happens is Hulk takes it And then right after that, Captain America shows up and gives it to her back.
Yeah, I would think
that's
because he has to bring it back to the same moment.
Right, so, exactly. Yeah. So that must have looked kind of funny for her, but
she's kind of like, "Well, you're not Hulk."
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, thank you. I'll take that back." But did you have other scenes that you wanted to mention?
Well, of course, the girl power scene.
Oh,
where
of course.
the girls assemble.
That scene was awesome. I'll admit it was awesome.
I mean, come on. I mean, I know it's a nod to girl power, but it was still good.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It was a. I mean. I know people say like, oh, it's fan service, but like this whole movie was fan service,
Well, so, the fans make all the money for the movie,
exactly.
So, it
was cool to see all of them back. Captain Marvel gets the gauntlet. Yep. Spider-Man's like, I don't know how you're gonna get that through, everybody. Yeah. And then Scarlet Witch shows up. She's like, she's not alone, and they do the whole gathering. It's like, oh.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Yeah, pretty cool. Let's see. There's just other little funny things. I liked that Ant-Man, the kind of the most, if you will, the most average guy. He is the one who really pushes the time travel idea, even though he doesn't know how to make it work. And of course, another line that we love is when Tony Stark says, are you telling me your whole theory is based on Back to the Future?
And he's like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And like he and Don Cheadle's character,
War Machine.
Yeah, War Machine. They're just kind of like, they're going back and forth with time travel movies, and then they come up with Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah, Hot Tub Time Machine.
Yeah. I love those scenes. And that was something I was going to say about just like this whole Marvel universe in general, is that how what I think makes these movies so unique is how obviously they're superhero movies, so the action is cool. But not only do they have cool action scenes, but the dialogue is really well written in almost all of them. And like the comedy lands, it's like it's put in good spots, and like it just so I mean, you can tell by our previous reviews of these movies, but just almost all of them are so well made, and I really it's been so cool to be along this journey through these years. And I really think that there's been nothing like it. Like creating this whole cinematic universe over 20 movies is like there's just, it's the first of its kind, and the fact that they pulled it off so well, even though it was the first time there's something like it, is really a testament to like the writers and I mean even like a testament to the Marvel comics.
Well, to Stan Lee.
And to Stan Lee, I should have mentioned it was really cool to see him again, by the way.
Yeah.
Even though obviously
this is his life's work when you think about it, and to watch it unfold like that, you wonder what he thought. I personally have not looked for any interviews. I don't know if they ever interviewed him about it. I would imagine somebody did somewhere, but just what did he think about this creation and
all these movies,
how it all came together. So.
But I'm fairly certain that he was supportive of it, though, because I feel like he wouldn't have appeared in all of them if he wasn't supportive of it. Right. So it was cool to see him one last time in that scene in the car where he's like, make love, not war, man.
And some of the stuff we kind of talk, I know we're getting long here, but a little bit like the Avengers getting these opportunities when they time traveled, getting these opportunities to kind of make up for some regrets. Tony Stark talking to his dad on the eve of his birth.
Yeah, that scene was cool.
All of that, and getting seeing the more human side of his dad,
right,
and just in Thor getting to talk to his mom, just a lot of different things that that not many people get a little bit of a chance.
Do you remember the scene when they it's Don Cheadle and Nebula and they see Chris Pratt singing?
So he's
an idiot.
So he's an idiot. Yeah, pretty much.
I love that.
She said it was that or a tree.
Oh yeah.
When he said,
was she talking to Gamora?
Yeah.
Because
she goes, he's the one.
He's the one I picked.
It was him or a tree. That was pretty funny.
And yeah, we could talk about this for so long. Yes. There's so many good lines.
And
so
you never, again,
scenes.
Like what you say with Guardians of the Galaxy, now that Gamora is alive again.
Yeah.
Will they pick any of that back up, and will Thor be a part of that, or what?
Yeah, it's very possible.
Yeah. So
we'll have to see what comes. I know for sure we've got another Spider-Man movie coming. That one we kind of knew about beforehand, and they did finally reveal that it does take place after Endgame. Though they did finally reveal that.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because they after Endgame came out, they came out with another trailer for Spider-Man where it has Endgame spoilers in it, and so it's because it shows a scene of him looking at like a poster of Iron Man and being sad or something. So because they were very close. So.
Right.
And Jake Gyllenhaal's going to be in it. Are you excited for that?
What's he going to play?
I forget the name of his character, but it's...
Is he a bad guy?
Well, what's interesting is in the trailer, it looks like he's kind of helping Spider-Man, but as far as I'm aware, that whatever character he's playing, I'm sorry for listeners, I don't remember the name of the character, but I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be a bad guy. So maybe he's gonna like start good and then be bad or something,
or he's gonna try to trick Spider-Man.
Yeah, maybe.
Nice to him.
Well, I'll have to show it to you so you can see it. But anyways, I'm sure we'll continue to talk about Marvel movies as they come out later on, because even though Endgame was the end of this phase, they're definitely going to still make more. So, honestly, as long as they keep up the quality that they've been doing, I'm going to keep going seeing them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think most people will.
Yeah. And Black Panther 2. I'd love to see that. I think it'll be good. So, it's been a long, what is it now, like 52 minutes?
Oh, dear.
Oh, geez, this is a long one. Sorry about that, guys. But it was a long time coming, and there's so much to talk about. We didn't even talk about everything. There's so much we could go on about, but we're going to wrap it up here. Just want to mention one more time at the end, our email is momandtompodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. And if you search on Instagram, our username is just momandtompodcast to follow us on there. Thank you guys so much. If you have made it to the end, congratulations. You're amazing. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you back in a few weeks.
All right.